Of course.
Money. Money makes the world go around, the world go around, the world go around. Money makes the world go around, it makes the world go round. A mark, a yen, a buck, or a pound, a mark, a yen, a buck, or a pound is all that makes the world go around. That clinking, clanking sound can make the world go round. Money, 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 money. If you happen to be rich and you feel like a nice entertainment, you can pay for a gay escapade. If you happen to be rich and alone and you need a companion, you can ring ting-a-ling for some mate. If you happen to be rich and you find you are left by your lover and you moan and you go quite a lot, you can take it on the chin, call a cab and begin to recover on your 14-carat yacht. What? Money makes the world go round, the world go round, the world go round. Money makes us go round the flat, we both are sure on being poor. Money, 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 money.
When you haven't any coal in your stove and you freeze in the winter and you curse to the victim that you fate. When you haven't any shoes on your feet, your coat spin is paper and you look 30 pounds underweight. When you go to get a word of advice from the fat little pastor, he will tell you to love them or more. But when hunger comes to rat-a-tat-a-tat-a-tat at the window. At the window. Who's there? Hunger. Oh, hunger. See how love flies out the door. Money makes the bird go round, the bird go round, the bird. Money makes the bird go round, the blinking, blanking sound. Money, 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 money. Get a little money, 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 money. Mark a yen, a buck or a pound. That blinking, clanking, clunking sound is all that makes the bird go round. It makes the world go round.
So cute. Good morning. My name is Lynn Cleek, and I am today's service associate. Al Castleman, our LCUUF treasurer, will be presenting our message this morning. Our opening words are by Teresa I. Soto. This is a responsive reading, so I'll read the part that says Lynn, and you read the part that says people. I don't know why it says people this time, but that's what it says. All that we are together and individually is part of the abundance of the universe. All that we have comes from earth, from the labor of those in our communities. We are surrounded by blessings, by grace, and by possibilities. We are reflected in your community. We respect and honor one another's differences. We celebrate honor to you with abundance and practice of generosity. Come, let us worship together. And so I just want to welcome you with, once again, live from Fellowship Hall. It's our LCUUF Sunday service. Yay! Our announcements were on a slideshow before the service and were also sent out with our weekly newsletter. If you are new and would like to receive that newsletter and other emails, talk to a member of the welcome team who will be out there by the table, or write us at info@lcuuf.org. And now, a special welcome to our visitors. If you are visiting with us for the first time or have returned to connect with us after a long absence, we invite you to say your name and tell us where you're from. If you're on Zoom, please introduce yourself in the chat box and we will read those messages aloud. But of course, we'll start with the people in the room first, and Gary is going to pass the mic around.
Hi, I'm Richard. And for the last couple of years, I have not been able to actually come to Sunday service much because I was at home doing things on Zoom, and they changed the way we're doing it, and now I can come too.
Yay!
Greetings. I'm Nancy, and I've come to Riberas 2 months ago, so I always wondered how to find this group of people, and luckily people in Riberas are so friendly. My neighbor said, come to church, so I'm here, and I'm so happy to meet you all and spend more time with you. Thank you so much.
Welcome. We're glad to have you.
Oh, I'm from California. I was a teacher, high school teacher. Thank you.
Anybody else in the room? One over here.
Hi, I'm Johannes Bjorner, and we just came back from United States, from Cincinnati, Ohio, and it was nice visiting family and friends. And we had enough cold, rainy weather to remind us why we just love it here.
Anyone else here in the room? Back here on the left.
Hi, my name is Barb, and I actually snuck in last week and really liked the energy here and the feeling and the message. So I'm from San Diego originally.
Oh, nice.
But lived in the Northwest and also in Victoria, Canada. And I've been here about, I got a house in Riberas about a year and 8 months ago.
Welcome. Anyone else?
It's free.
And how about somebody on Zoom? Do we have any new members that are checking us out on Zoom? I hear nothing, so I suppose that means no. All right. So welcome to all of our visitors and newcomers in person and on Zoom. And just a brief note, so y'all will know, we offer a wide variety of services on various topics presented by our members, by outside guests, as well as our minister, Reverend Matt Alspaugh. We hope you will return to sample this variety of thought and belief. Okay, you've got the chalice. Okay. Our chalice lighting words today, Our chalice lighting words today, are by Leslie Takahashi, entitled A Call to Worship for Stewardship Sunday. To worship means to consider that which has worth. Today we consider with gratitude the many gifts of this community.
The opportunity to be affirmed in who we are and to offer that affirmation to others.
The chance to stand up together to help remake the world in the ideal of justice.
And the freedom to choose one's own path to truth and to learn from the travelogues of others.
The space to expand one's own spirit and to reconnect after busy or humdrum weeks with the sustaining truths of one's life.
Regular reminders that we must see our world through the lens of love.
And the aspiration to consider all life as precious, for if all of it is made of stardust, how can it not be wondrous?
So this morning, let's welcome all of these gifts with gratitude, for they've been paid for with many currencies.
The blood of the martyrs who died so that we can be free in our religion.
The sweat of those who persisted in justice's name against hostility and adversity.
The tears of those who struggle to build better lives for those in this life.
The questions of our children as they understand the world anew and offer their understanding to us as a fresh lens.
The laughter and joy of those giddy with the embrace of community.
the dollars and cents of those who gave what they could and then stretched a little more.
The infinite small acts of service that make the parts greater than the whole, done by those who knew themselves in sympathy with our purposes.
So today we consider with gratitude and humility what it means to pay forward what has been paid forward for us.
And now, with all of this, let us enter into worship with gladness in our hearts. Now let us light our chalice with these words as we sing together.
We kindle this night in celebration for the life that we share.
Ours is a welcoming community where we find connection, a spiritual community where we find meaning. Ours is a sharing community where our joys are amplified, a caring community where our sorrows are lessened. We take this moment to reflect on our joys and sorrows and acknowledge the mutual support of our community. If you would like, you may share a brief verbal expression of a special joy or sorrow. Yeah, we added that brief. We will start with the folks in the room and give those on Zoom a chance to type joys or sorrows into the chats. So first, let us recall the joys. Whatever you may be celebrating, whatever evokes a feeling of joy or peace for yourself or others. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I think it's nice to start this off with, I was at the opening ceremony last night for the Gay Games, which are a summer, they do them during the summer, so it's the equivalent of the Summer Olympics. All the same disciplines are played, and there were 4,000 athletes, and I'm proud to say that they came in from countries that have a lot of problems being safe with being gay. Congo, they had the Poland, let's see, so at any rate, a few others, but they came in as far as the Philippines. It was so amazing. It was a wonderful, wonderful reception. This entire week is games. So all of you jockeys out here, people who used to play, don't forget you can go watch some really good games. They're free. Just look online for the Gay Games and the different pavilions where they're being played. It's a real trip. Also, they were very happy to be here because, of course, now in Mexico, gay marriage is legal throughout the country. They were very proud of what has been done, and it's a representative of Latin America. This is the first time the games have been in Latin America and the Caribbean. So they were coming in from Colombia, and it was wonderful. It was really a high. So all of you, just appreciate that it's a great opportunity to see some good games.
Yay.
Hi, I'm Adele, and I've got a simple joy. I've been in the U.S., in North Carolina for 2 weeks, and visiting wonderful friends, but I am so, so happy to be back here with all of you. I love you all so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Adele. Any other joys in the room? We sadly do not have a Zoom coordinator, and I'm supposed to read the joys, but I don't have anything to read. So, yes, ma'am. Oh, great. Gary, wait, let Gary bring you your microphone, please. Oh, good.
Rena Swan says, my joy is I'll be returning to Lakeside next Sunday.
Oh, good, great. Does anyone else have one from Zoom or a joy? There we go.
My friend Lisa is visiting from Orlando.
Hi, welcome, welcome, Lisa. That's a good joy, yes. Any other joys? Now, let us voice our sorrows. Whatever you or the world may be holding that is in need of our healing and caring thoughts. And there are sorrows that people would like to share here in the room. Oh, several, Gary. Why don't you start with her?
My sorrow is that my sight 5 days and left, and it was so heartbroken. And he took off. I can't even begin to tell you.
It's
I
hard.
cried 2 days in a row.
Hard to
and
say
I'm so
goodbye.
happy Lisa's here because she kind of distracted me.
Yes, I'm Richard. I just have my sorrow is that our brief visit here at Lakeside is coming to an end, and we won't be seeing our friends for quite some time.
My name is Sue. I'd like to light a candle for all the civilians in Israel and Palestine that are affected by this stupid war.
I'm Kat, and a couple of days ago I was reading an article about the Sudan, and there are people there who've been eating water lily bulbs because the land is flooded from climate change for a year and a half. I just wanted to light a candle for people who are suffering because of climate change.
Any other sorrow in the room someone would like to share?
Not sorrow. Joy that was not read.
Okay, thank you.
I am very grateful for all my wonderful friends who have checked in and come by this past week after some minor surgery. This is indeed a caring community. It was from Deborah.
Devora, okay. Does anyone, yes, Trudy?
I don't have one, but I didn't get to hear Richard because of the bell, and I think I wanted to hear what Richard had to say.
Yes, the bell is ringing.
I just wanted to say it's a true sorrow that we're going to have to end our visit here at Lakeside so briefly. 3 weeks seemed like a short enough time, and then having COVID for 2 of it, what a wonderful way to welcome ourselves. And only 6 boosters? 6 boosters and flu shots later, yay.
You're still upright, it's okay.
Anyone else? I do not have anything to read from Zoom. Charlie, do you for sorrows?
I don't see anything.
Okay,
No, nothing.
all right, we'll move on. And then we have our large care candle from our care team. It represents the joys and sorrows we hold in the silent sanctuary of our hearts. We light this candle for all those unspoken sorrows and joys. Thank you. Let us share a moment of silence to hold in our hearts both the sorrows and the joys that have been shared this morning. Thank you. There are many ways to be of service to LCUUF. Our time, our treasures, our talents are all necessary components to a healthy fellowship. Now is the time in our service we ask you to share the gift of treasure through pledging and donations. Instructions for payment to the fellowship were on a slide during the announcements before the service this week. For the people here at the fellowship, we'll pass a basket. If you are new here today or you're struggling just to hold things together, let the basket pass you by, for your presence is more than enough and is a gift to us. As they're passing the basket, I'll just remind you that each week we give half of the money collected at the service, a minimum of 5,000 pesos, usually more, to an organization providing services to our Lakeside community. For the month of November, we're supporting Operation Feed. For over 30 years, Operation Feed volunteers have been providing food and improving the lives of the very poor and marginalized people of the village of San Juan Cosola. They provide weekly food dispenses to 150 families and individuals who would go hungry without this aid. Operation Feed also supports new program initiatives like cooking classes and crochet projects to involve the people in developing additional sources and skills. The offering will now be, or I guess it has been, given and gratefully received. Thank you so much.
So recently, reflecting back on my life, I see that I've been deeply shaped by just a few intentional creative acts. Lots of big and small creative projects, fun, lots of enjoyment, but just a few really meaningful ones. Creating a family as young adults, building a boat in our middle years, and the one we're engaged in now here. These big creative acts have turned out to be life experiences beyond my wildest dreams. They've taken me beyond where I dreamed I'd ever go, literally and figuratively. I mean, we all know that big creative projects are not solo endeavors. That to accomplish them requires many people working together. We didn't raise our children alone, although it often seemed that way to me. But in fact, it was friends and families and teachers and therapists helping us over obstacles that we encountered. And as Hillary Clinton says, honestly, it takes a community. Most of you know about raising children, creating loving family relationships. But how could building a boat have been deeply meaningful? It's a boat, for goodness sake, not a third child. And I wondered how to justify all the time and the energy and the resources going into it. What could I possibly learn from it that would justify all that? Well, it turns out that it wasn't where we went, what we did, but how we went. When there are only the two of you on that boat and no way to leave, you have to learn to respect, trust, and support each other in order to create a safe environment for each other, no matter what happens. And if you do that long enough, it will change you. Now in our tercera edad, our third age, we're engaged in a third creative intention here. In the beginning, hearing beloved community being applied to this fellowship was pretty squishy for me. In the process of sort of examining my discomfort, I checked Wiki and Chat GPT to see what that really meant beyond what I thought it meant. And I learned that the expression beloved community originated with a Harvard philosophy professor more than a century ago. And we all probably know that Martin Luther King then developed it as a vision for how we could all live in harmony. Now, Habitat for Humanity uses the phrase in its mission to describe the creation and feeling of home. What is home? In part, it's a feeling of being heard, known, and accepted for who we are individually. Home at its best is an environment where it's safe to speak truth, however it looks to us, where there are fair and equitable relationships, sharing and listening in equal parts, listening as a heart with ears, as David Rush says. I have a friend who is especially good at this, and I won't tell you the person's name. I hope you might think that it's you I'm referring to. We never talk without sharing our time pretty equally and talking and listening. Fairness as an expression of love and respect. And it feels like home when it's a place where we do express appreciation for each other's gifts and strengths and are working to forgive each other's weaknesses and errors. How does the initiation of this year's pledge drive intersect with continuing the building of this beloved community? Well, in preparation for planning this year's pledge drive, Reverend Matt gave our treasurer a link to videos made by the UU Association's development director. Elizabeth Ann Terry says research shows that people give for two reasons. First, because of shared goals they share with each other and that they're giving to. You may think our treasurer came to ask you for money, but importantly, I'm asking you, are we building a place where you feel inspired and safe to share with each other and our leaders your vision and your goals for the fellowship? This is a fellowship committed to democracy in action. All are valued, all are needed. And secondly, people give because they love their fellow congregants. They feel love from their leaders and love for each other. They give from a place of love. They are inspired by love to give. Successful campaigns are not about raising lots of money, but as tangible expressions of love. For example, a campaign has been successful when the percentage of participation goes up, regardless of whether the target has been met, because that's a demonstration that the congregation is healthy, is building love and connection, intentionally learning to know each other. And I believe that this collective and creative endeavor will take us individually and together beyond where we dreamed we'd go, both literally and figuratively.
Gulp. It may take me a minute to rebound from that. And lucky me, I get to live with her every day of the year for the last 60 years. Okay, let's get this done. I'm Al Castleman, by the way, and I'm the fellowship's treasurer. When I was working for a living, that's a long time ago and far, far away, making presentations was a significant part of my job. However, a caveat, I retired 25 years ago. So to say that I'm a little out of practice probably is a gigantic understatement. We'll see how it goes. Early on in my career, I learned that it was very important, whether conversing or writing or presenting, that you really focus on the needs of your audience. And with that in mind, I'd like to take a little straw poll. How many of you, raise your hands, absolutely love math and numbers and talking about money? I thought so, not very many. You'd no doubt prefer to talk about something more spiritual than nature. Guess what? Me too. But the reality of the situation is that without resources, we'd lose access to those more desirable topics that the fellowship provides. And it takes money to provide this venue and the future venue coming, and the support systems that make all the presentations of better topics possible. So although the subject matter isn't inspiring, I'll do the best I can to make this as painless as possible. I thought it might help you to make your pledge, in making your pledge decisions, if you had a better understanding of our financial circumstances and needs. So let's start with fellowship, where the fellowship's money comes from. Okay, there's a slide. Let's work from the left to the right. Share the Basket proceeds are typically offered in conjunction with some pledge payments or individually. and they represent about 5% of our total income. Sunday offerings, which you've just participated in, each Sunday also account for about 5% of our total revenues. Then we have miscellaneous fundraisers when we clean out the bodegas and sell minor items, or a sale of candies or baked goods or whatever. And those kinds of contributions total 2%, which should tell you that the vast majority of our income comes from member pledges, 88% to be exact. So it's significant. Obviously, the pledge drive is the single most critical source of funds and to keep payments going as member pledges are received. Now, the next question is, so how are those funds used? Let's take a look at that. Once again, working from left to right, our Social Action Committee screens and selects with board approval the charitable organizations who will receive our donations each month. You've seen discussion of those assessments and recipients in recent newsletters. Funds gifted to the charitable organizations are composed of all of the funds directly contributed for share of the basket, as well as half of the Sunday service offering collections. Typically in our monthly donations to charities amount to, in US dollars, about $400 to $600, although more recently that has increased because of your increased generosity, and we appreciate that. All Sunday offerings not allocated to share the basket go into our operating fund for the fellowship, and all the fundraising projects as well as member pledges do the same. Let's look at how that works on the next slide, which is actually a continuation of this slide. Just to be different, let's work from right to left. About 20% of our operating funds are allocated via the annual budgeting process to our functional teams to support their activities. And these, of course, include the Sunday Service Committee, Social Action Committee, Hospitality Committee, Member Care, and Membership. The remaining 80% is used to fund all of our other operating costs, which include, of course, our minister, a music director, the technology team, facilities, maintenance, insurance, equipment purchases, and of course, electronic services, Zoom, iLox, which is our ISP, and so forth. Now let's go back to the source of funds and convert those percentages into some currency numbers. Can we go to the, there we go, okay. This gets a little detailed, but I'll try to bear with me, if you will. Here we're looking at the budget for the current year, not next year, but the current year. We maintain the fellowship's accounting records in Mexican pesos, and most of our expenses are in fact paid in pesos. However, about 85% of our income comes in US dollars. So I've noted the amounts here both in pesos and dollars, and feel free to, whatever is more comfortable for you, that's what you can look at. There we go, okay. You can see that the currency amounts in each source of revenue, but we want to focus primarily on member pledges because that's what we're here to talk about today. This year's pledge budget, representing the total of all amounts pledged for the current year, is about 780,000 pesos, or about $39,000 US. The fellowship had 79 active members most of this year, and that equates to 48 pledge units. Whoa. what is a pledge unit? Well, a pledge unit is defined as either an individual member or a couple contributing together or a couple contributing individually, separately. So it's kind of like the way, the classification that you put on your income tax return. If we divide the 780,000 pesos by the 48 pledge units, what you see is that the average contributor pledges about 16,000 pesos for the current year, which is about $800 or about $65 a month. But the range of pledge amounts is very broad. It ranges from as little as $50 for the year to as much as $3,500. So very, very broad range. Let's pause here and let me apologize for using averages. I hate to do that, but it's very difficult because of the diversity of our community and individuals' financial resources to really come up with a way to forecast what our needs might be. Some of us are married, others contribute individually and so forth, so it's difficult. I'd like to find another way, but averaging is what has been most effective. So that's a synopsis of our pledge picture for the current year. What we're here to talk about is next year. Perhaps the easiest way to look at next year is to see how it will be different from this year. And there are some changes that are going to be beneficial, and there are others that are going to be a real challenge for us. On the plus side, membership growth obviously helps, since we have more active members now than we did at this time last year. However, the growth in number of members doesn't necessarily equate to the pledge units because of the distribution of couples versus individuals and so forth. Another helper will be the fact that we'll be renting directly from St. Andrews as opposed to this facility, and here we have to pay a management fee, and that will go away. Now, how about the challenges? First of all, the facility rent beginning next year will be on us to be paid from the pledge revenues. And that's going to be about 120,000 pesos for the year. So 10,000 pesos a month, if you will. If, for those of you who don't know, the fellowship has never paid rent before. Why is that? We have a group of 6 members, friends of the fellowship, who in fact pay the rent for the fellowship and have been doing so for quite some time. In fact, from the inception. That's no longer going to be the case. Next year, it's up to us to foot the bill. Furthermore, we won't be receiving any sublease income, if you will, from people like the Bear Stage here. So that will go away. One of the really significant changes is the change in currency exchange rate. Throughout this current year, we've been using an exchange rate of 20-1, and that is no longer appropriate, as you probably very well know. And at the moment, I'm thinking that we'll be using a ratio probably of 18-1, and I'm putting the budget together based on that number. At the moment, last night at least, it was down in the 17s. So, and of course, we have to expect that there's going to be the normal impact of inflation on our expenses. I'm not going to go into all the details. I hope you're not falling asleep. I'm trying. So here's the bottom line. Our pledge goal for next year needs to be 1 million pesos. And this next slide should get your attention. That's a 28% increase in the revenue needed from pledges next year. Wow, that seems like a lot. How come so much? Well, actually, it's pretty straightforward. The pledge budget, again, for this year was 780,000 pesos, projected 1 million, so that's obviously a difference of 220,000 pesos. And that difference is made up basically, for the most part, by two things. One, rent, the 120,000 pesos, and the effect of switching from a currency exchange rate of 20 to 1 to 18 to 1. That has, for the year, an impact of about 100,000 pesos. So if you look at those two things, rent and exchange rate, there's the difference. Now the question is, what does that mean for you? This slide is a bit busy, but it summarizes the situation pretty well, I think. Once again, I apologize for using averages, but it is what it is. First, let's look at the leftmost column, which summarizes the current year. You may remember some of these numbers. We had 79 active members. This year, we had 90% participation that yielded 48 pledge units, and that gave us an average of 16,000 or thereabouts pesos per pledge unit, $800 a year. So that was the current year. Now let's take a look at the forthcoming year. I've got two different columns here. One is the middle column represents what happens if we have the same participation rate as we had this year. That is 90%. And we now have 89 active members, which equates to 54 pledge units, which gives us an average of about 18,500 pesos per pledge unit. That's about a little over $1,000 per pledge unit. No surprise, a 28% increase. But what happens if we could achieve 100% participation? That is, that everybody's in. Everybody contributes what they can. That's what I've shown in the right column. And here again, we have 89 active members with 100% participation. That gives us 60 pledge units, which then equates to about a little less than 17,000 pesos per pledge unit, or $925. So it's not great, but it's certainly better than the higher number. So what's the message here? Participation is what we're really seeking here. That's what's important and significant. Try to get everybody involved, regardless of whatever that is, to help grow the beloved community. If you can only afford a small amount, so be it. That's fine. If you can afford more, that's great. But what we're looking for is to get everybody to participate. So the pledge campaign is going to extend from today through December 31st. And although we're very hopeful that you'll make a pledge decision far before that, we'd very much appreciate it. Why is that? Because I'm going to be working with the committee chairman to put their budgets together during the months of November and December. And the sooner that we know what our revenue stream is going to look like, the sooner we can finalize what the spending can be. If we achieve our goal, that's great, and we'll be able to undertake all of the programs that we'd like to. If we come up short, so be it. We'll have to cut back, and that includes our contributions to the community, our donations to other organizations, as well as perhaps some of the programs that we'd like to put on. So the message is, you're in charge. What you decide with respect to pledging will dictate what we're able to spend and therefore what programs we're able to put together. Then we'll finalize the budget and get the board approval and present the whole budget to you at the annual meeting in January for approval. let's take a look at, we try to make the process as simple for you as possible. You can contribute in Mexican pesos, in US dollars, in Canadian dollars. You can pay by check, by bill pay applications, PayPal, however even cash works. Hopefully not dollars, we prefer pesos, so we don't have to go through the exchange rate. You can pay weekly, monthly, quarterly, one time, any combination, whatever suits your fancy. Here's the pledge form that we're going to be using for the year. It's as simple as we can make it, and there are some important things to note. We need you to tell us whether you're pledging as an individual, as a couple, or as a member of a couple, but pledging separately. We need you to tell us what currency you intend to use. And of course, I need to point out the fact that we're asking you what your pledge amount is for the entire year. Not monthly, not quarterly, but for the entire year. Where can you get a pledge form? I'm glad you asked. They will be available before and after Sunday services each Sunday, including today. They're out at the welcome table today, if you'd like to pick one up on your way out. If not, you can hopefully download from the newsletter on a weekly basis, or you can send me an email, and I'd be happy to send a copy of the pledge form back to you. How do you submit the form? Two ways. You can put it in an envelope and put it in the Sunday offering basket at any Sunday, or you can send it by email to me, if you will. Sooner is better than later, once again. Now, I hope I haven't absolutely bored you to death. Are there any questions? Happy to answer questions. Yes, honey, can you get that?
I have two questions
Okay.
or two statements. One is, I think it's very optimistic of you to be doing 18 to 1. So 18 to 1, so factoring that in, that, we're being optimistic. I would also think that some of us can find it, but I'm wondering how easy it would be for you to give us this year's pledge amount that we did, because I know I did different last year than this year.
You mean
I can find it, but if I did the 28%, let's say, increase, it would sure help if I just had it easily available. And many other people might find that easy too.
That's really easy. Shoot me an email or David Hudnall, and either one of us can tell you. We can tell you what you pledged and what you've contributed so far. Other questions? Yeah.
I think many of us have worked for nonprofit agencies in the past, and I know that when we were applying for grants, one of the big factors that the committees considered was the percentage of people participating.
Yes.
Almost, at least equal with the dollar amount, because it showed how invested you were in your community.
Exactly.
And so any little bit helps.
Absolutely. That's really the focus. I'll say it again. What we're focusing on this year is participation. The amount that you pledge is less important. What's important is that you try to contribute to building the community. That's what it's about. Other questions? Yes. I'm wondering about the difference between pledging as a couple and pledging as an individual part of a couple. What does that mean?
Oh, well,
Both the contributions and also for the percentage of
well,
contributors.
some people, married couple or whatever couple, would just together, one contribution for the two members together. In other cases, we have couples
who choose to, for whatever reason, pledge separately as essentially individuals, even though they're a member of a couple. And that doesn't really change, the total amount of dollars probably doesn't change. It changes some of my calculations, but it isn't, it's not significant. Whatever is convenient for you, we can work with. Yeah, David, whoops.
One thing I want to mention is some people want to get a receipt for their income taxes in the United
Yes.
States. And if that's the case for you, you need to be sure to pledge in U.S. dollars and pay in U.S. dollars.
Yes.
Because we can't give an income tax receipt if you actually pay in pesos.
Excellent point, David. Thank you. Yeah, Chris? Don't worry, I don't have a question. I just wanted to say, hopefully, with the next newsletter, I will figure out how to have a downloadable pledge form. Well, if you don't, we'll announce it and find another way. There is an application with a newsletter program, I just haven't explored. I wanted to it. follow up with you and find out, but I didn't get a chance. It'll happen by the end of the week. Great. Wonderful. Other questions?
No, I just wanted to clarify. I know what David is trying to say. It is better for everybody to pledge in dollars if that's what your currency is. But I've been doing this for 36 years. You can in other currencies, but you use the official currency exchange rate.
Yes.
Okay, and so everybody who's filing a form should know that exchange rate. You can look it up on the IRS Treasury.
We
You must use the official, and just indicate that, but that's all.
well, yeah, absolutely, and obviously it changes throughout the day, every day.
No, it's the annual.
Yeah, I understand, but I'm
Don't guess it.
for accounting purposes, we elect to use one rate for the entire year, because if you don't do that, the accounting process gets very complex very fast. And at my age, I don't need more complexity.
Those of you who are not familiar with the IRS
Oh, yes,
here,
yes,
use that for your calculation.
correct.
Yours is separate, obviously, and I
That-
also agree, I think 18 is kind of high.
Right. If you're contributing in dollars, of course, the tax receipt that we provide will identify dollars. So, other questions? Okay. I thank you for your attention, and most of all, I thank you for whatever you choose to pledge. Now the question is, can I get out of here?
Okay, before I close things up, I think that just giving Al Castleman a big round of applause. My husband was treasurer for 4 years, and it is a hell of a lot of work. Okay, if you will please take a moment to become present, to pause, to notice how you are in this very moment. Our worship here today is at an end, but our work has just begun. The work of holding one another in this community in love. The work of trusting that we are on the right path. The work of believing that what connects us is stronger than what separates us. The work of engaging in that which makes us whole. The work of deeper understanding and commitment. The work of letting go of that which does not serve us, the work of radical inclusion, the work of collective liberation, the work of this beloved community, a beloved community of which we were all a part, a place where we are welcomed, respected, valued, cherished, a place where we belong. Amen, and blessed be. Okay, we will now extinguish our chalices with these words which we read together, please. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we keep in our hearts and share with all the world. And now we have our postlude with Frank Sinatra.
Every time it rains, pennies from heaven. Don't you know every cloud contains pennies from heaven? You'll find your fortunes falling all over the town. Be sure that your umbrella is upside down, babe. Trade them for a package of lots of sunshine and pretty flowers. If you want all those things you love, you gotta have showers. And when you hear it thunder, don't run under the tree. There'll be pennies from heaven for you and me. Get it, get it. Like I was saying a minute ago, every time it rains, pennies from heaven. Don't you know every cloud contains lots of pennies from heaven? You find your fortunes falling all over the town. Be sure, you better be sure that your umbrella is laying right there and it's upside down. Trade them for a package of lots of sunshine and pretty flowers. If you want all those things you love, babe, you just have to have showers. And when you hear it thunder, don't run under the tree, and there'll be pennies from heaven for you and me, for you and for you and for you and me.
Our worship is over, and now our service begins. Go in peace and with purpose.